Exiting the Green Head turnoff, we're now heading south along Indian Ocean Drive in this third of a series of 4 videos documenting the journey along Indian Ocean Drive, all the way from Perth to Green Head, and then Green Head back to Perth. This section will be Green Head to Lancelin, some 124 kilometres. Should take about an hour and 10 minutes. And on the way we'll pass Cervantes, Jurien Bay, the shack settlements of Grey and Wedge, and a couple of other interesting points. Thank you for your attention. This is a beautiful part of Western Australia, the Turquoise Coast, named after the beautiful colour of the water in the bays. This video is designed to be watched by a passenger while en route, travelling the Indian Ocean Drive. It's designed so that if you skip ahead a little bit, you can find out what's coming up and then make the decision before you get there as to whether you're interested in having a look at, say, Kangaroo Point or the Pinnacles. Sit back and enjoy. This video is being recorded whilst we're still in the midst of COVID-19, and as such you will see many caravans, campers and vehicles towing boats today, because Western Australians, not being able to leave the state, are now discovering their state, and most are heading from Perth, points north on this road, or heading south. the left here is Nilgen Lookout. This section of the Indian Ocean Drive has many long stretches where it's possible to overtake cars. I think there's only one overtaking lane on this journey, and it's closer to Lancelin. But otherwise, just be guided by the dotted lines. That'll tell you if it's safe to pass, and then you make the decision as to whether or not you can overtake the car in front of you. Given the number of insects that we collide with, you'll see a bit of this on this journey, regular cleaning of the windscreen. It's a necessity. Because we're in sandy soil, we will pass a number of different dune systems on this part of the journey, and all of which you can walk out onto, some you can drive onto. And I'll run through those as we progress today. On our right is the turnoff to Sandy Cape. That is definitely worth a look. There's a recreation park there where you can pull in, and for a very low fee, I think it's about $20 per vehicle, you can camp overnight. There are facilities there, some undercover areas to eat along with ablutions, and it is right next to the beach, and it backs up against a sand mine which you are not allowed entry onto. But a beautiful part of the world. We are 10 kilometres from Jurien Bay, which is the largest town along the turquoise coast. As we approach Jurien Bay, the speed steps down to 90, and there is a turn off here to the left which takes you to the Brand Highway, which pretty much runs parallel with Indian Ocean Drive, north-south, and used to be the only way to travel from Lancelin to Cervantes stroke Jurien Bay. You had to go out to the Brand Highway and then traverse that road and then come back towards the coast. Jurien is a sizable town. It has a high school, 3 fuel stations, a very good dive shop. I'm talking skydiving, not deep diving, and a light airstrip. And it draws a goodly number of tourists in normal times, and even when we are closed because of COVID, it's still bringing a lot of Western Australians here. But I quite like the beautiful pine trees left and right as you enter the town here. And just in front of us is the entry sign at Jurien Bay, and shortly after that a little information bay. They have a very comprehensive boat harbour which has a number of jetties, a small beach, various services. It has a sporting complex with a football oval, bowls, basketball courts. It's also the centre of the Dandaragan Shire, or at least that's where the headquarters are housed here. And because this is a Saturday and it's 10:54 a.m, there is a local market to my left here. If you're in town, it's worth a visit at the Jurien Hall. There's also a golf club and a sizable holiday park which is on the beach. Has a number of cafes and restaurants, eateries, takeaways, little skate park, playground, accommodation, and even a medical centre. So we're going through the heart now of Jurien Bay at 50 kilometres an hour. It's a great spot for windsurfing and kite surfing because it's particularly in January and December, the winds are strong. It's also a great spot for fishing and spotting sea lions. The skydive centre is on our left here. The police on the opposite corner. Supermarket, shops, the mandatory liquor store, and Department of Parks and Wildlife and the Shire Council on our left. That was Jurien Bay, and now the speed kicks back up to 80 kilometres an hour and will shortly jump to 110 an hour as we have 106 kilometres to go to Lancelin, which is 99 kilometres to the turnoff. I invite you to have a look at the turquoisecoast.com.au website. Type that into your browser, hit enter, and you'll find all of the towns along the turquoise coast highlighted. So you can click on each one, gain a little bit of information about each one, and make your decision as to where you should stop and have a look. Jurien Bay is the only town on the turquoise coast where you drive through it on the main road. All of the other towns you have to take a slight detour off Indian Ocean Drive to get to those seaside towns. "20 kilometres to Cervantes, and time for a quick windscreen clean." About now, if you're planning to head to Cervantes, get onto the internet and you'll need to go to lancelin.com.au and book your lunch, because the Lobster Shack is one of the most amazing places to dine at. It is on the beach. It focuses on lobster. The Thompson family started lobster fishing in this area decades ago and have pioneered it, and they're so passionate about it. They built this amazing restaurant on the beach that is devoted to lobster. Yes, you can get fish and chips and oysters and some other food as well, but primarily the focus is on lobster. So get on to lancelin.com.au and book your lunch now, and when you arrive, you present your voucher, which you get via email, and you'll get a reserved table, and you will also have your order pushed through a little bit quicker than most. But you can have lobster done a number of different ways, in a burger, lobster mornay, and if you like lobster or crayfish as we know it here in Western Australia, you should definitely book your lunch now. Get online and do it. Left here, you can go up and have a look at Hill River View. I've never done it, so I cannot advise you either way. There's another lookout there, Mola Hill Lookout. Up on the right in a few kilometres is the turnoff to Cervantes. The town is smaller than Jurien Bay, but it is well known for its lobster fishing, as I mentioned before, at the Lobster Shack, which also has factory tours and is open for lunch every day of the week, with the turnoff here left to the Brand Highway. But apart from the Lobster Shack, there's a jetty. No boat ramp though. You can also head to the stromatolites at Lake Thetis, and just past that is the Nilgen Bay Lookout. Beautiful caravan park in the middle of town. And with that said, here is the turnoff to our right to Cervantes. Other attractions there, they have a little rotunda at some point along the bay where you can sit and look out over the bay. Some great shade structures on the beach. They have a very strong football team in Australian rules football that wins most of the grand finals, and they play through the winter, probably 7 or 8 home games. And if you're in town, it's worth a visit there. There's a skate park, accommodation, a fuel station that also sells lobster, and a nice park right down on the beach. That is Cervantes. There are some beautiful dunes just on our right here on the other side of these trees, which if you wanted to park and walk into, you would pretty much have them all to yourself, I would suggest. And it's not that long a walk to get to them. On the right is the turnoff to Kangaroo Point, which is quite a nice beach. It's just on the right here. It's a dirt track in there, but any two-wheel drive vehicle will handle that. If you have a four-wheel drive, you'll be able to drive down onto the beach. But essentially it's a nice bay that on the day I shot it had a fair bit of seaweed, but sometimes it can be absolutely clean. And if you're looking to have a swim with not too many people around, that's a great spot. It doesn't have any ablutions, but it does have some shaded picnic areas. The next attraction you must visit is the Pinnacles Desert. It's in 2.3 kilometres from here. It's on the eastern side of the road, but it is quite magnificent to look at. You can take your car in there, any two-wheel drive car will be fine, and you can drive through the Pinnacles, stopping at various points if you wish to get out for a photo opportunity or just have a look at these age-old things that grow out of the ground. You'll pay an entry fee per car. You can pay that via cash or credit card to a human during office hours or after hours, because it's open 24/7. You can just pay by credit card. It's an inexpensive attraction, but well worth a visit. And if you get there perhaps dawn or dusk, you'll see kangaroos in amongst the pinnacles, which is always a lovely sight. And the turn off to the Pinnacles is right here, and it's about a few minutes drive, maybe 5 tops, till you get to the entry gate. And there's a visitor centre there too, where you can grab a snack and have a look. And on the right here I'll mention Hangover Bay. That is worth a visit too. It's a nice beach, lovely facilities, a paved car park with toilets and shade, and a nice spot on a hot day. We're 70 kilometres away from Lancelin, and there is no fuel between Jurien Bay and almost back to the entrance of the Mitchell Freeway in Perth on Indian Ocean Drive. You can get fuel by turning into one of the towns, but there is no fuel station until you get to Healy's, which is about 10 k's prior to the turn-off to Mitchell Freeway. Traffic is quite busy today because a lot of families are heading back because it's the end of the school holidays. And of course we have campers and caravanners and people towing boats doing 10 to 20 kilometres an hour under the speed limit, causing great frustration. Why is nobody overtaking here? now doing 40 kilometres under the speed limit, but the ocean is visible out to our right as we approach the settlement of Grey. Now, Grey is it's a town, but really it's an illegal town because it was initially set up with just corrugated iron shacks for crayfishermen, and over the years people have just gone in there and set up their own shacks, and it's fantastic real estate so close to the beach. And there is no sewerage, obviously. They all use septic tanks. They have to catch their own water to use that, and unfortunately for those owners, the government doesn't want them there, so they're actively working to get rid of them, although it's taken them a lot of time, and hopefully they don't succeed, because they are quite unique places, both Grey and Wedge Island, which comes up shortly, Wedge Island being the bigger of the two settlements. In fact, all the way along this coast there are interesting little small shack settlements that can be seen on the coast side of Indian Ocean Drive. And on our right here is the entrance to Grey. I think the main culprit of our slow driving is this person here with this trailer, who has suddenly managed to find an extra few kilometres an hour and has got back up to 100 k's an hour. That's all part of the joys of travelling on this road, which has a rather perhaps unjustified reputation for being dangerous due to a number of crashes in the section from Lancelin back to Perth, where over a number of years we had a number of deaths from accidents, and that caused the state government to drop the speed limit from 110 kilometres an hour to 100. And this gentleman or woman is now back doing 80 k's an hour in 110 zone, making no friends at all, but giving us a wave as we're 60 kilometres from Lancelin. You will see wildlife on this road at dusk and dawn, kangaroos, emus, and to a lesser extent echidnas. So be very wary at those times of animals, the larger animals, the kangaroos and emus, because they can cause a lot of damage to your car, and you're better off to hit them than you are to swerve at 110 k's an hour to avoid them. Kangaroos will often just sit in the middle of the road and you'll drive right up to them at dusk. I've had this a few times, and they'll just look at you, and then you give them a toot about 5 metres away after you've stopped, and then they'll look at you and just gently amble off the road. But the emus, well, they're very scatty. They will come and go and have really no idea. And also, if you see one kangaroo, you're almost certain to see another couple. So if one jumps out in front of you, be prepared for more to follow. Up here on our left is the Crescent Dune. It is a magnificent dune, as you can imagine, shaped like a crescent. And I photographed that from above many times. If you're adventurous, you can actually walk out to that dune. I've done it a couple of times. Although I'll warn you, you'll need some good footwear, and you should wear long pants and tuck them into your socks, because there are ticks out there and there are some very sharp bushes. But if you wish to do it, and you'll have the thing to yourself, and as you can see, that must be 10, 15 metres, maybe even more, 20 metres high, that left hand face. You can just park here the closest point, park well off the road obviously, and walk in. You'll have a tale to tell, I promise you. You can't drive out there, unfortunately, but the walk in would be probably 250 metres and take you about 10 minutes, I reckon. If you have any comments about this video or suggestions for enhancements, they would be most welcome via email at info@lancelin.com.au. Next up ahead is Wedge Island, and that is a most interesting shack settlement. You can see it up there. The white on the right are the dunes of Wedge Island, and the island is just behind it. About every 10 years, the island becomes part of the mainland, and the water that flows between the mainland and the island suddenly just dries up, and sand rises out and you can walk to the island. It's quite spectacular. It is also the place where the oldest message in a bottle was found, going back to 2018. Remarkable story, and I know it quite intimately because it was my wife who found it. It was a bottle originally tossed overboard a ship, a German ship called the Paula, 132 odd years prior to Tonya finding the bottle. It was tossed overboard about 900 kilometres west of Perth, and it's thought that it floated to about 6 kilometres north of Wedge Island within a year perhaps, and has sat on the beach for those 130 plus years until Tonya, walking with a friend, saw a bottle, thought that'd be a nice bottle to put on our bookshelf at home, picked it up, gave it to my son's girlfriend. She went to put it in the car and looked inside and said, I think there's a cigarette in here, and tipped it out. It wasn't a cigarette, it was indeed a note, and it was a note sent from the Hamburg Marine Authority asking the finder to put the details, note the details of where it was found, and send it back to the German embassy or the authority in Hamburg, because they were measuring sea currents at the time. And it was quite a remarkable find because it took a good 6 weeks to get confirmation that indeed it was real, and that came from Deutsche Seefahrt in Hamburg, who had the original captain's log from that boat, and there was an entry in the same handwriting as that was on the note that said bottle thrown overboard. And then in March of 2018 it was announced to the world, and it is now sitting in the WA Maritime Museum where anybody can go and see it. And it was just a thrill to be a part of something so historical. But getting back to Wedge Island, this shack settlement has been around for decades, has grown and grown. It has the most beautiful beach. Now previously, to get to Wedge, you had to drive up the coast on a dirt track, and it was a fair investment of time and very uncomfortable. You had to have a four-wheel drive, but since Indian Ocean Drive has been put through here, it's opened up Wedge Island. As I said before, the government don't want it there, and and they'd be very keen to tip everybody out because some of the homes were built so close to the ocean that they've fallen into the ocean with erosion, which comes and goes, and they've then had to go and mop up the mess. But the turnoff to Wedge Island is right here on our right. If you have a four-wheel drive, you can drive down onto the beach. If not, you can drive into the centre of town and park and walk a few hundred metres to the beach. Great fishing, and it's also home to a number of lobster boats that fish out of there. But there's no jetty and there's no boat ramp, obviously, but there's a lookout up here to our right in 200 metres, and you get a great view over Wedge Island from that lookout, which is on the right here. Videoing this today on an iPhone, having had a crack with a couple of other options with not much success, so this has turned out to be by far and away the best quality and the easiest option. So indeed, thank you for getting this far into the video. This section of road that I'm on now is beautiful photographically if you want to shoot somebody in the middle of the road with the ocean behind them, shooting towards the ocean with a long lens, or turning around and shooting back on the crest and getting the beautiful orange of a rising sun in the morning. And sometimes, is it possible? Yes, I think it is. A couple of times a year you can actually get the sun rising behind your subject on this road. To our right is another set of sand dunes, and it is possible to get to those dunes, or certainly to the base of them, and you can walk up from there, but you'll need a four-wheel drive, and I'll show you the turn-off for them shortly. If you like any of the images you're seeing here on this video, still images, you can go to prostarpics.com and own them. You can then either have them printed if you wish, or you can use them digitally for personal use at one rate, or for slightly more for editorial purposes. And you can search, so you can just put in Jurien Bay, Cervantes, sand dunes, and a variety of images will come up. Now, I mentioned you could get into those dunes by car, and the turn-off is just there. And if you're heading north, it's just after the Lobster Shack sign. And then you go all the way to the end and turn right. Now, just into the right here, something I discovered the other day, is a boat. For some reason, it's stuck on hardstand out there in that paddock. On our right is the Lancelin bombing range. It is one of only, I believe, 2 bombing ranges in Australia. And that's right, that people bomb it. Primarily from the air, but also from sea. And on the days that they bomb, the range is closed and there's a red flag at the 2 entrances. If you see the red flag, obviously stay away because they're bombing, and not that you can get into the range anyway because it is fenced. But quite spectacular when they are bombing with those big munitions, because they can be felt all the way from Jurien Bay to Lancelin. And I've a couple of occasions come up here and shot photographically what they're doing, and it's most impressive. And a couple of times I've been out into the coke can, which is the area where the people sit to monitor where these blasts happen. And from some 25 kilometres out at sea, they can get within 50 odd metres of their target, and then they just hone in with the help of those people in the coke can, named so because it looks like a can of Coca-Cola. On the days that they are bombing, they will close the beach. So if you're intending, because you can drive south of Wedge Island along the beach normally, and they normally only bomb during the week. The weekends are bomb free. On the left is the turn off to head inland. This is Meadows Road, and if you want to go to places like Mora, that is the direction to go. Number of motorcyclists here. Impressive sight. Coming up on our left is quite an extensive caravan, I should say, carrot farm. This is run by Sumich, a major producer in Western Australia. And right here is the only overtaking lane between Greenhead and Lancelin. And it's only in this direction, as you can see. If you're in need of a toilet stop, pull in on the right here. This is the only toilet stop on Indian Ocean Drive on the whole turquoise coast. It's known affectionately as Shane's Shitters because Shane Love, the local state government member, lobbied for those toilets. And here on the right is the turnout to the Nilgen Lookout. It's worth a quick look. It's not that far in there. There's some picnic tables. It's a great spot to take a photo overlooking the scrub to the town of Lancelin and the sand dunes, and also to the beach. Just on our left here is I don't even know what you call that. It's just a whole lot of gravel. I think it was used for a construction of something some time ago, but I do see people camping there overnight. Not that it's legal, but it is often used for that purposes. On our left is the turn off to Ocean Farms, which is a small farms really out there, large blocks, pretty peaceful sort of existence. Nothing to see, but quite inexpensive land. Right, well, this person has had way too much time and nobody's overtaking. And there's a car following a camper very closely. We're nearing Lancelin, so let me tell you a little bit about this town. And there's a turnoff just to the right, by the way, which takes you a back route. It gets you around the back of the sand dunes, and if you've got a four-wheel drive, it's navigatable. But Lancelin is a town of around 700 people, swells to a couple of thousand during peak periods at Christmas. Great little holiday town, has a jetty, no boat ramp, two islands, Lancelin Island at the north end of the bay and Edwards Island at the south end of the bay. Great fishing off the coast. You can do a charter fishing boat. You can also get fishing tours from the land. Number of eateries there. A fuel station, the Gull fuel station, which is open from 6:30 to 6:30 every day of the year. Maybe Christmas Day they're only open for half a day. There's the Lancelin Beach Hotel at the north end, and right in the middle of town is the Endeavour Tavern on the beach with some sensational views and a great beer garden. But everybody comes for sandboarding, and if you want to sandboard, you are in the right place. And if you do wish to come sandboarding, get onto lancelin.com.au and book your boards, and you'll get a receipt via email which will tell you where to collect them. Then head out there and have some fun. You can sit up, you can stand. You don't have to be good at this. You don't have to have any sense of balance. It's not like snowboarding. It's just good fun. A few hours should be enough for you, and best to do it in the morning if the sea breeze is in the afternoon. The other great must-do thing is the quad bike tour. You can also do them in buggies. It's much safer than going out on your own because you go with a tour guide, and you will enjoy the extensive off-road area, which is one of very few in our state where you can go out and enjoy the wide expanses. It is great fun. Once again, you book that online at lancelin.com.au, where you can also rent a surfboard or a SUP, stand-up paddleboard, and head out and enjoy that. And from time to time, the crayfishermen sell lobster off the back of their boats, and you can order those at lancelin.com.au. But it is a crayfishing town, a lobster fishing town, with some 20 boats working from that bay, which has a reef, and the water is reasonably sheltered. It's a beautiful modern caravan park, holiday park, Experience Lancelin. That's at the south end of the town, and an older park at the north end. And on our left here is the turn-off to Seaview Estate. But getting back to Lancelin, it's definitely worth a visit. It's only a few k's down the road. There's also a bottle shop, a number of eateries in town. Habitat supermarket, IGA supermarket. It's probably unlike most towns you've been to. Basic but fun. So this will be the end of this section of our Indian Ocean Drive tour, the section from Greenhead to Lancelin. And here it is, my friends. So thank you for staying with me. Hopefully you've been there for the whole journey. And video number 4 in the series is the drive from Lancelin back to the entrance to the freeway. Here's our turn off, and au revoir, my friends.